Whimsigoth. It is the spellbinding set design of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Charmed, and Twitches brought to life. It's nostalgic and it's comforting, like a warm hug from your favorite art teacher who wears a toe ring. Where the world sees a wall, Whimsigoth sees a window. It's magically abundant and limitless, like a drinking package on a cruise. The term Whimsigothic was coined by Evan Collins of the Consumer Aesthetics Research Institute in 2020, formerly known as Whimsical, Mystical, Gothic, Celestial. My God, Evan, thank God you changed the name. This aesthetic can be found in fashion, interior design, cinema, television, and music, celebrating the celestial and melancholic. So, dust off those pillar candles you got from the thrift store, pour yourself some Pinot Noir, and let's dive into the origins and lasting legacy of the Whimsigothic aesthetic. To understand how this came to be, we have to go back to a spookier time when everyone would point a finger at a person with Tourette's and accuse them of witchcraft, and everyone was fingering Blame. I don't know who Blame is, but she sounds very lucky. The Gothic part of Whimsigoth is more rooted in the Gothic revival, rather than the modern way we refer to pale people who wear lip rings today. Emerged in the 18th and early 19th centuries, the Gothic revival brought the medieval past into intricate designs. Dark wood, stained glass, wallpaper, and drapes heavier than a Cillian Murphy movie. This movement really had a love of opulence, deep jewel tones, and almost theatrical sense of ambiance. More candelabras than Liberace's estate sale. And as much as I want to believe that it smelled like a 22-ounce jar of Yankee Candle's Enchanted Moon, it most likely smelled of open sewers, typhoid fever, and soot. And while Gothic revival brought medieval impressions back to the physical spaces, it also revived a fascination with Gothic literature. Novels like Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Dracula, The Picture of Dorian Gray, all embodying the brooding, mysterious settings and further intrigue of dark themes in the supernatural. Or at least that's what my research tells me, because I have read none of those books. The Gothic revival movement's obsession with the mystical and unknown also paved the way for the modern spiritualist movement, which gained popularity in the Victorian era. Seances, tarot card readings, and a fascination with ghosts, the afterlife, and mystical occult became part of Gothic culture. Like, you can be totally intrigued by esoteric Wiccan vibes, but you can't practice that on your day-to-day life. Like, that would be crazy. The influence of Wicca and historical witchcraft, particularly the fear and folklore surrounding witches in the 1690s, plays a crucial role in shaping the elements of modern-day Whimsigoth. But unlike Apple TV, the Salem witch trials lasted for more than 30 days. These historical persecutions of alleged witches left a lasting cultural imprint, fueling the reclamation of witchcraft as a spiritual and aesthetic movement. Whimsigoth embraces this history, intertwining the celestial symbols with a sense of feminine empowerment and mystery. And the resurgence of Wicca in the 20th century further cemented the aesthetic's connection to nature, magic, and the unseen, bringing elements like herbs, crystals, and tarot into the visual language of Whimsigoth. Enter Stevie Nicks. Often referred to as the original witchy woman, Stevie became an icon when she joined Fleetwood Mac in 1974. Fans were mesmerized by her spell-casting voice and unique sense of whimsical style.
I always wanted to be a witch because I thought that being a witch was the absolute most fun thing you could be on Halloween, and I didn't want to go as a hot dog or a box of Kleenex. You know, I wanted to be a witch because that was the most fun, and the dripping black sleeves and everything, and the hat. You know, this all went with, this was a style I thought was just absolutely great. And that, you know, continued right into my life. You know, I wear black because I love it.
Across the pond in the UK, Kate Bush was also pioneering the modern Whimsigothic aesthetic. Her ethereal, otherworldly presence created a dreamlike atmosphere that further shaped this style. Her songs like Wuthering Heights and Babushka captured themes of mysticism, longing, and the supernatural, not just lyrically, but in her performances as well.
And what about this vocal sound? I mean, you came on like the Wicked Witch of the West. I mean, is this is this you?
No, that's Kathy. In Wuthering Heights, that was who I was in that particular song. The voice was really just to create a mood. The whole song is like Kathy is a spirit at that point, and it seemed the sort of way a spirit would sing, very ethereal.
Television and cinema in the late 1990s and early 2000s were rich with Whimsigothic themes. And when they weren't focusing on giving the nerdy character a makeover in order to be accepted, screenwriters became obsessed with period pieces. Sleepy Hollow, Interview with a Vampire, Princess Bride, Robin Hood, A Simple Wish, the list goes on and on. And for a while, these witches were, and still are, depicted as wearing all black and pointed hats. But the 1990s ushered in a new era of witches who went from burlap frocks to crushed velvet tops.
The spell that guarantees he'll get what's coming to him.
But it's only to be used as a last resort. You might want to try to deal with him the mortal way first.
You mean TP his house?
Sabrina the Teenage Witch presented witchcraft in a lighthearted, charming way, which reinforced the idea that magic and mystery can coexist with humor and warmth. The craft provided a more raw, edgier look at young women experimenting with witchcraft while coming into their own, looking fashionable while doing it.
You're a witch! They were right.
They usually are.
And in 1997, the world was reintroduced to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes, reintroduced because Buffy was originally played by Kristy Swanson in the 1992 film, which kind of flopped but was revived in that hella successful TV series years later. But that's neither here nor there. Buffy's best friend, Willow Rosenberg, was a whimsigoth girl through and through. We watched as she went from a shy computer nerd to a powerful, kind of dangerous witch. Even Buffy's promo art and title cards encapsulated the aesthetic. Margot Chase was the graphic designer behind Buffy's iconic title card, which pulled from Gothic-inspired typography and blended medieval and modern elements. Margot was also behind the Whimsigoth designs for Madonna, Cher, Dracula, and Charmed. Charmed, I'm sure. This show followed three sisters navigating life as witches, blending drama, romance, and magical intrigue. So whimsigoth. While Practical Magic balanced themes of familial love and personal empowerment with its enchanting setting and mystical undertones. One of my favorite movies, Ginger Snaps, is heavily under the spell of this aesthetic. Whimsigoth can even be found in the 1998 Disney movie, Halloween Town, with Aggie Cromwell and Marnie Piper. I actually had Kimberly J. Brown, who played Marnie, on my podcast, and she spilled some tea about what was going on behind the scenes. Did you steal any props from Halloween Town?
I wouldn't say steal, allegedly, but yes.
Allegedly.
Did you pocket anything?
And Debbie Reynolds may have assisted in the taking
heist.
home of certain items and encouraged the just grab it, honey. Just take it. I have the Halloween Town book from the first movie.
Incredible.
Yes, I keep it like in a sealed zip bag, and I'm like, I wash my hands before I touch it. I'm like terrified.
Corners only.
Exactly, corners only. I have the bat from the first Halloween Town too that's in Calabar's office.
Yeah.
Daniel likes to say that I took him home from the second one.
Oh, you did? After he stole your grandma's book. So
Exactly.
let's get that straight,
Exactly.
Danny.
And it was
so
like
funny.
15 years later, technically. And from the second one, Debbie encouraged me taking Marnie's outfit. They had made that whole purple cloak and hat especially for me. And she went up to one of the producers and I think kind of, encouraged, why don't you just let her,
Yeah,
let
like,
her
who else
take
is gonna
that
wear
home.
it?
What are you going to need it for?
Whimsigoth can also be found in the Disney Channel original movie Twitches, Hocus Pocus, and so many others. These stories offered a template of how this aesthetic could intertwine with narratives of self-discovery and transformation. But Whimsigoth isn't just about embracing the visual symbols of witchcraft, it also represents the broader idea of being an outcast, much like how witches were historically ostracized from society. Throughout history, individuals who were perceived as different, unconventional, or mystical were pushed to the side and even discarded, like that first slice of bread in the loaf that nobody wants. Whether they were accused of witchcraft in the 17th century or simply refused to conform to societal expectations. And it's this sense of otherness that deeply is embedded in this aesthetic, making it appealing to those who have ever felt like outsiders themselves. A modern pop culture example of this would be Phoebe Buffay from Friends.
I'm gonna put on some music.
Maybe I'll dance for you.
While she's not explicitly a witch, Phoebe embodies the essence of the whimsigoth spirit. She's quirky and unconventional. Whimsigoth creates this space where individuality and strangeness are not only accepted, but celebrated. And it's these icons and characters that really introduce the world on a larger scale to this style and fashion. Fashion obviously played a pivotal role in this aesthetic. This style embraced a romantic, otherworldly vibe characterized by layered, flowing fabrics. We've got dark palettes and vintage-inspired details. A couple key pieces include velvet dresses, corset tops, lace-up boots, maxi skirts, oversized cardigans, and bell-sleeved blouses. Fabrics like velvet, lace, and chiffon played a crucial role, adding texture and movement to the aesthetic, while deep jewel tones created a moody and enchanting color palette. And would it be Whimsigoth without celestial motifs? And while all of this is rooted in personal expression, high fashion also played a key role in shaping more dramatic elements. Designer Anna Sui, in particular, helped define the look of the 1990s with her use of dark florals, velvet burnout fabrics, and almost fairy tale-like sense of gothic femininity. And besides Stevie Nicks and Kate Bush, many celebrities in the 1990s and early 2000s embodied the whimsigoth aesthetic, both on and off the red carpet. Hope Sandoval of Mazzy Star, Lisa Bonet, Enya, Florence Welch all showcase different facets of this style, from ethereal bohemian looks to darkly romantic gothic ensembles, both in their closet and oftentimes throughout their homes. Whimsigoth extended beyond personal style and found its way into interior design. I feel like everyone is familiar with this look. There's spaces that are darkly atmospheric and inviting and whimsical. Interiors often combined antique furnishings with eclectic, magical touches like draped fabrics, candelabras. It's all so magical a sorcerer would live here. Check out these chic wind chimes.
Hey, Jamie, let me just say, that is the chicest wind chime I have ever.
Thank you, darling.
Layered textiles, it's soft, it's flowing fabrics, it's enchanting. And furniture embraced exaggerated forms like plushed, overstuffed seating, ornate iron details, reflecting influences from the Gothic revival and Baroque design. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. Though its heyday was in the 1990s and early 2000s, the Whimsigothic aesthetic has experienced a resurgence in recent years, mainly fueled by nostalgia and the digital age's obsession with reinterpreting past trends. Films like The Love Witch and shows like The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina have introduced Whimsigothic's aesthetic to a new generation, while classics from the 90s continue to serve as inspiration for those drawn to its blend of fantasy, darkness, and whimsy. Social media has really played a key role in this revival, and the rise of witch talk has led to the accessibility of esoteric practices. However, as with anything, Whimsigothic is not without its criticisms. A lot of people argue that the trend romanticizes historical persecutions, particularly that of the accused witches and outcasts from the past, and the obvious commercialization of astrology, tarot, and crystal healing, all once niche spiritual practices, have become more accessible, which is great, but more commodified, which is not, with major retailers like Urban Outfitters and TikTok Shop really capitalizing on the trend. But still, at the heart of Whimsigoth lies its ability to evoke a sense of magic. That's what it's all about. Self-expression through fashion, music, or the ambiance of a carefully curated space. As long as there's an appetite for the mystical and dramatic, Whimsigothic will continue to enchant and evolve, proving that some aesthetics truly are timeless. It really is one of my favorite aesthetics, and if you know someone whose house looks like this, stay on their good side. Whimsigoth was and always will be toe ring wearing sorceress behavior.